I can't even begin to explain the shock I felt when it happened. And honestly, even now, thinking about it still makes my blood boil. Imagine this. You're at a gas station on a lonely stretch of highway. You're cold, hungry, confused, and terrified, and then the people you trusted the most, the people who are supposed to have your back no matter what, just drive away. That's right. My own family abandoned me on a gas station and left me there like some random stranger on the side of the road. And what they didn't expect was what I would do next. Tell me, would you have just broken down and cried? Or would you have plotted the kind of revenge that would make them regret every single second they ever thought they could mess with you? Because what happened that night completely changed everything between us. It all started with a family road trip that I had been looking forward to for months. My parents, my younger sister, and I piled into the car early on a Friday morning, the sun barely peeking over the horizon. My dad was driving, my mom had the map sprawled out in front of her, and my sister and I were in the back arguing over music. At first, everything felt normal, the usual family bickering, the way we always did, mixed with bursts of laughter whenever one of us told a joke. But I noticed my dad seemed tense, unusually quiet, and my mom kept shooting him these sharp looks whenever he glanced at the GPS. I brushed it off, thinking maybe they were just stressed about getting on the road on time, but deep down, something didn't feel right. We had been driving for hours when we decided to stop at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't anything fancy, just a dimly lit convenience store with pumps that looked like they hadn't been cleaned in decades. I stepped out of the car, stretching my legs, when my sister asked me to grab some snacks from the store. I nodded and walked in, thinking nothing of it, but when I came back, I noticed the car doors were locked, and my family was sitting inside, staring at me with these strange, unreadable expressions. Before I could even ask what was going on, my dad pressed the gas pedal, and the car jerked forward. My sister screamed, I shouted, but they didn't slow down. They just drove off. And that's when it hit me. They weren't coming back. I was standing there, frozen, watching them disappear down the highway as if I was some stranger they had never met before. I ran after the car, waving my arms, but it was useless. I felt this insane mix of panic, anger, and disbelief. Why would they do this? Was it some kind of twisted joke? Or was I in serious trouble, and this was their way of teaching me a lesson? My thoughts were racing, every possible scenario flashing through my mind. I was alone, miles from home, and I didn't even know where I was exactly. The gas station was deserted, the lights flickering, and the hum of the neon sign above the store felt eerily ominous. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Eventually, I calmed down enough to start thinking. Crying wouldn't solve anything. Running after them in the middle of the highway was suicidal. I had to figure out a way to turn this nightmare around. So I grabbed my phone, only to realize my service was spotty at best. Great, I thought, just great. I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere with no help. But then something snapped inside me. I wasn't going to sit here and be a victim. Not me. My family might have underestimated me, but they were about to learn that abandoning me was the biggest mistake they'd ever made. I started by going back into the convenience store. I needed food, water, anything I could use to survive and maybe even track them. As I browsed the aisles, I noticed a map pinned behind the counter and a small notice about the nearest town being 20 miles away. I memorized it quickly and also noticed a payphone in the corner. A relic, really, but functional. I used it to call my best friend, someone who always had my back, and explained the situation in a shaky voice. Within an hour, they were on their way, and while I waited, I pieced together what I knew about my family's habits. They always took the same route when traveling, stopped at certain gas stations, and never drove past a certain speed for more than an hour. Using that knowledge, I realized I could predict where they might be headed next. Hours passed, and I was pacing the empty lot when I heard a low rumble in the distance. My heart leapt. I thought it was them returning, but it was just a truck passing by. Still, it gave me an idea. If I could hitch a ride into town, I could get a car, and then maybe I could finally confront them. I waited until a delivery van pulled up, and after convincing the driver that I had been abandoned and needed help, he agreed to take me to the nearest town. I clung to the plan I had been forming in my head. First, survive. Second, catch up. Third, make them regret underestimating me. By the time I reached town, it was almost dark. I rented a car with the little money I had on me, and while driving, I plotted every possible way to find them. Social media wasn't much help. They hadn't posted anything since leaving me. I drove the route I thought they were on, checking every gas station, every rest stop, every familiar landmark. Each stop, I asked questions subtly, pretending I was looking for someone else, but inside, I was tense, my eyes scanning every car for my family. My emotions were a storm: fear, anger, disbelief, and this burning desire for justice that I had never felt before. Then I finally spotted them at a roadside diner. They were sitting inside, laughing, completely oblivious to the fact that I had tracked them down. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, but I forced myself to stay calm. I didn't want to confront them recklessly. I wanted them to realize the magnitude of what they'd done. I parked a few blocks away, just observing them, studying their faces, and thinking about how I could make this moment unforgettable. That's when it hit me. I needed to turn the tables completely. They had tried to humiliate me by leaving me behind, but now it was my turn to regain control, to make them see me not as the vulnerable kid they abandoned, but as someone who wouldn't be broken. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted them directly? Would you have played it cool and waited for the right moment? Or would you have done something completely unexpected, something that would shake them to their core? Take a second and think about it, because what I did next wasn't something I could have planned. It was instinct, pure adrenaline, and maybe a little bit of poetic justice. I decided to start small. I called my sister, pretending to be someone completely different, a roadside assistant or a friend who had found their abandoned child. I told her that I had information about me and that they needed to come outside immediately. The panic in her voice was instantaneous. She looked over at my parents, who were confused and alarmed, and for the first time that day, they felt a fraction of the fear I had felt hours earlier. I drove closer, revealing myself only slowly, and their reactions were priceless. My dad's jaw dropped, my mom's eyes widened, and my sister's face turned pale. They had thought they could leave me and never face consequences, but now they were frozen, realizing that I had not only survived, but had orchestrated a comeback they never saw coming. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just calmly walked into the diner, my presence alone silencing the room. I told them exactly how I felt, every bit of fear, humiliation, and anger I had experienced. I made them sit there and listen to me, and for the first time, they understood the weight of their actions. My words were sharp but measured, full of emotion, and by the end of it, I saw genuine remorse in their eyes. It wasn't instant forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement, and that was more than I could have hoped for. Then I left. I didn't scream, I didn't punch, I just walked out, letting the silence and the guilt follow them instead. The aftermath was intense. We didn't speak much for days, but slowly, the dynamic in our family shifted. My parents started treating me with a new level of respect, realizing that I was no longer the kid they could dismiss or underestimate. My sister, while still a little shaken, began to look at me differently too, not with fear or annoyance, but with admiration. I felt empowered, like I had reclaimed a piece of myself that had been trampled on that day at the gas station. More importantly, I learned something about myself, that even when people you trust the most betray you, you are capable of rising above it, capable of taking control, and capable of ensuring that no one ever treats you like that again. I know some of you might think I overreacted, or that I should have just let it go. But believe me, sometimes the best revenge isn't violence. It's proving that you're stronger than they ever imagined, that you can survive, adapt, and come back better, smarter, and more resilient than before. That day at the gas station was a turning point for me. It was terrifying, humiliating, and painful, but it was also the moment I realized my own strength. And now, whenever I think about that day, I don't just think about being abandoned. I think about what I did afterward, how I took back control, and how I finally made my family understand that underestimating me was their biggest mistake. So, if you've ever felt betrayed or abandoned by someone you loved, remember this: you have the power to rise, to turn the tables, and to come out stronger. Don't let anyone make you feel small or powerless, because even in the darkest moments, you can find the strength to fight back in ways they never expect. If you were on my side, like this video, subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I want to hear what you would have done if you were in my shoes. And with that, I'll see you all in the next story.